Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. Shannon channels some Beyonce and says, you better put a ring on it now that the Cavs will sign Andrew Bogut and Deron Williams. Skip offers us a look inside the relationship between former Dallas head coach Jimmy Johnson and Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, and believes the former coach's comments will get to the owner. Host of In the Zone podcast and Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard checks in to help break down Russell Westbrook's MVP chances. The guys weigh in on the beef between Shaq and JaVale McGee. Plus, former NBA All-Star Kenyon Martin drops by to tell us how he can relate to what Boogie Cousins is going through with the NBA refs. I see you're rocking the red Jordan Futures, Skip.
Tiger Woods used to wear red on Sunday. I wear red on Monday to start the week off by crushing you with my red.
Yes.
So that's how it goes.
And you know what happened with Tiger?
Yeah.
You and he are both out of gas.
My back's been it's hurting a little bit this morning.
It appears that LeBron James is about to get the help he's been asking for. Deron Williams was waived by the Mavericks last week and will reportedly sign with the Cavs today. And Andrew Bogut was traded to the Sixers last week, but reportedly is expected to sign with the Cavs after his contract is bought out by Philadelphia. Shannon? If these signings go through, are the Cavs the favorites to win the title?
It's Andrew Bogut.
Oh.
Andrew Bogut's on your phone?
Good day, mate. You coming to Cleveland too? Oh, okay.
Really? You got Bogut?
Yeah.
That's breaking news, right? You just broke news right here on
Good day, mate. I've been working on my Australia, Skip.
Yeah.
Skip, look. This is what I didn't understand. Cleveland won the championship on a Sunday. And when the line opened up on Monday in Vegas, the Warriors were favored to win the 2017 NBA title.
That was without
Durant.
Yeah.
So now they signed the second best player. But I believe, Skip, now we're 50-50. It's a coin flip.
Oh.
Because I don't believe that Cleveland will catch Golden State for home court. So that means they're going to have to win one game. Last year we got two. Mm-hmm. Two on that court. Mm-hmm. You still mad about that. But don't worry about that. We talk about it later. LeBron said 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months ago, I need a backup point guard, somebody that can initiate the offense when Kyrie and myself are on the bench. We need a big. Birdman went down. If Tristan Thompson gets in trouble, we need somebody that can come in, get some rebounds, protect the rim, sit screens. That's what he said. Yeah, what we got, Skip. Sometimes now we didn't have to give up. I hate saying we. I didn't have to give up.
No, you don't.
I hate saying that we. It's not we. I hate saying, but the Cavaliers were tempted to trade Iman Shumpert for Patrick Beverley because they needed a backup point guard that much, someone that could initiate the offense. So now, with Deron Williams, and everybody say with Deron Williams, they don't need him to be the 20-10 two-time second-team All-NBA player that he was in Utah. That's not what they need. Can you come in, give us 15 to 20 minutes a night, and initiate the offense when Kyrie and Bron is on the bench? I believe he can. So not only now what that does, Skip, Kevin Love and JR, they're coming back. So now you got a starting lineup. So now when you go to your bench, you can bring in Deron Williams. You can bring in Derek Williams has been playing great. The number two pick out of Arizona, he's played really well. Richard Jefferson, Shump, Bogut. Ooh, I ain't even mentioned Channing Frye. So, Skip, as a matter of fact, in about an hour and a half, I'm going to call Jared. I'm gonna get signed for this new ring I'm about to get. The 2017 model. Oh, yeah, but Beyonce, they're about to put a ring on it. Oh, hater joy.
Wait a second. Are you ready to guarantee that your Cavs just won the championship?
I'm going to get sized for my ring. I think I'm a size 15 and a quarter.
Sounds like it to me, Skip.
Well, who's Jerry? You're going to
Jared.
Oh, Jared.
He went to Jared.
Jerry.
He went to Jared.
Oh, you're going to go to Jared's to get your championship ring?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
No, you know what? I'm going to K. K, since K make the Hall of Fame rings, I'm sure they got.
Well, I thought you'd go to Tiffany or something.
No, Tiffany. I go to Rochelle. Tiffany costs too much.
Well, that's why I'd say you'd go to the top, top dollar.
No, don't worry. First of all, don't you worry about where I'm going to get this size 15 and a quarter. but it's gonna have a C with that garnet in it. C. It's gonna have like two the big old Larry O'Brien trophies.
Okay.
That thing was a beauty. Did you see how big it was opening up?
I did.
That thing was pretty much Skip.
Yep. So let me get this completely straight.
Yes.
It is now official. LeBron James has no more excuses for the rest of this season. No excuses.
He made no excuses. All this did, look, he saw all the moves that everybody else in the East make or didn't make. Toronto made some moves, and they beat Boston. Now all this did is made him impenetrable.
Okay. So
in the East. They might sweep everybody in the East. Now, I was thinking Toronto might win a game or they might let Boston win a game. They sweeping everybody.
Yep. So they got a big break because Jimmy Butler, Paul George, neither went to Boston, so that's easy, right? That series is over.
We wanted them to go there.
Yeah. You wanted them to?
Wanted them to. Ask Jimmy Butler how many times has he beaten LeBron in the playoffs. Ask Paul George how many times he's beaten LeBron in the playoffs combined. As a matter of fact, send them both to Boston, and we'll beat them both.
Beat them both? Boy, you're talking big and bad today.
Let me take that back. That's not how we say it in the barbershop. We say we'd beat them both. Okay. BOFL.
All right, that's fine. I got that. So now let me get this straight. The landline is going to ring, ring, ring for the king, right? So he's going to, I think you missed that. Was that a Friday joke?
Yes, you missed it.
You missed that one. But I had to hear that like 3 times on Friday. Do you have a landline? Like it's a lame setup where I have to say, it's like a knock joke. I have to, knock, who's there? Landline. Landline who? The king, ring, 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 right?
You was like, oh, I don't have one, but I think Ernestine does.
She does. I don't have a landline. Okay, so I want to get that out of the way. So now it's clear that Bogut plus Tristan will be a huge advantage over what, Zaza and JaVale?
Yeah.
Golden State? So that's over. That's a done deal. Big advantage, LeBron in the post, right?
The bigs wasn't going to play a factor in this series. Skip, it's about the outskirt pieces.
Oh.
Kevin Durant and Bron, Kyrie and Steph Curry, J.R. Smith and Klay Thompson.
So now you got to keep Shumpert,
Yep.
and you got to keep Kevin Love.
Yep.
And you love Kevin Love. He's like one of the top 5 players in the NBA,
Dropping dimes.
Yeah, dropping dimes.
Dropping dimes on them.
Okay, so you kept all that,
Yep.
and now LeBron will relight the fuse in Darren Williams, right?
Yep.
And LeBron will faith heal Darren from all
Yep.
of his nagging injuries, because LeBron's capable of doing that, right?
Walk.
Okay, all right.
Ankle's going to be 100% healthy.
And so 12 to 15 minutes a night, Darren Williams will play at a championship backup level, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to get all this on record. On tape. Okay, and then Bogut will be on a revenge mission to get even with the team that dumped him, basically, just sent him packing because they wanted Kevin Durant, right? They didn't. He was expendable, right?
Yeah.
And Bogut will somehow be faith healed from all of his nagging injuries because he had one after another. Both knees are balky, hamstrings a little balky. Okay, so that'll be no issue.
Can he give us 10 minutes a night?
Yes, 10 minutes. So you got that. And finally, Kyle Korver has found his bliss in Cleveland, right? He's found his comfort zone because over the last 10 games, think about this. He's made 40 of 64 three-point shots. Think about that. That's impossible. 40 of 64. That's 3%. 63% from 3. Kyle Korver. And I told you, and I think you agreed with me on the day they landed Kyle Korver, that he's as good at, I know it's between him and Klay, but sometimes I think that Kyle's an even better just catch and shoot three-point shooter. Just flat stand still, catch it, shoot it. He might not be able to get open as easily as Klay does. But if he's open and LeBron gets it in the lane as LeBron can do the way nobody can and kicks it out like a no-look pass to Kyle Korver, he's going to drain 60% of those shots. That's a lethal weapon to have, right? And you added that on top of what they started with this year, right? So now, they have 8 top 5 picks on this roster. They've had them this year. That's the most in 47 years in the NBA. So this team is loaded. This team's starting to feel like prohibitive favorite. And by the way, this team now has 3 number 1 overall picks on its roster. And that's the most since the Showtime Lakers had 4. And the 4th was Michael Thompson, who's Klay's father, right? So this should we say prohibitive now over Golden State or San Antonio, right?
You keep banging San Antonio's beat, San Antonio, because I know that's what you want.
I'm glad you brought that up.
But it's not going to happen.
I'm glad you brought that up.
It's not going to happen.
Because there was rampant speculation going back 3-4 days ago that Bogut might wind up with my Spurs. But what has happened slowly but surely and very quietly under the radar, There's this guy named Dwayne Dedmon. Has anybody noticed outside of Spurs Nation that he's 7 feet tall, and over the last 11 games actually, that he has started in place of Gasol and now kept Gasol on the bench now that Gasol's healthy? He's averaging 8 points and 10 rebounds with a block a game, and at least once a night. Could we see the throwdown yesterday against the Lakers? We got to see this. Wait, look at this. Boom! That's Dwayne Dedmon. He's a Spur. Spurs can't do that. Spurs don't dunk. Tim Duncan never dunked.
I can dunk.
Look at this.
I can dunk on the Lakers.
You can?
Yes.
Wait a minute. The Lakers got a lot of young talent in there. Brandon Ingram was really good yesterday.
There's a reason why they fired their general manager and their part owner, VP, Jim Buss, because they got a lot of young talent that's doing absolutely nothing currently. That's why Magic Johnson's in there. So you showing a highlight of Dedmon dunking on the Lakers.
I loved it, but it happens every night.
It
happens every night. Really. You ought to watch. They're the most fun team to watch in the league.
I want you to watch and see how everybody that comes up that gets released or gets a buyout, how LeBron James can, from Cleveland. He's not in L.A. He can't promise them Hollywood. He can't promise them palm trees and 80-degree weather. Not in New York. He can't promise them Madison Avenue or play in the NBA's greatest arena. All he does is from Akron, Ohio, sits high. The king of Akron.
You know what he does? The
king?
He picks up that phone you had in your hand and he calls Adam Silver. He says, Adam, I need me a Kyle Korver. Could you swing this? Yes.
The only
they just get. Why would Atlanta give away Kyle Korver? What are they doing?
First, hold on, Skip. Do you know what Sacramento did? They gave away Boogie Cousins for a jar of jelly beans and a mop bucket. Okay, and you going to talk about Kyle Korver?
That's Sacramento. This is LeBron. Now they're prohibitive favorites because the commissioner deemed it so. He made it so.
There's 2 people in the entire United States that has everybody's phone number. One is at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and the other guy's in Akron, Ohio. LeBron James can get in touch with anybody.
Anybody,
anytime.
You know, it's funny. I've never heard from him. I don't know, but maybe I will. Maybe today.
You know what? He got you on call block. I told him to put you on call block. But what you want me to tell him?
Well, I mean, I think you should tell him, if you talk to him, that Skip and I think that the sledgehammer has officially been taken to the excuse machine in Cleveland. Because
That's correct.
Skip's point,
it's
now,
over.
if and when this happens, they'll have 3 number-1 overall picks and 8 top 8 picks.
That's it.
Y'all about to get the number-1 pick because y'all about to be in the lottery too, the Miami Heat.
I don't think we're going to get the number-1 overall pick.
I don't think y'all going to make the playoffs.
But I'm just saying, I don't think Cleveland needs any more. I think they're pretty stacked.
Don't worry about what we need.
You know, wouldn't that be interesting if it wound up Miami versus Cleveland in the first round? I wonder how that would go.
Swept.
Hassan Whiteside might have something to say to Andrew.
You know what?
Bogut.
We ain't even pulling out the broom for you guys.
Really?
Nah, we got a vacuum. Quick work.
Skip's going to talk more about this on his Facebook tonight, Facebook Live, 6:30 Eastern. So you check Skip out there. I'm sure I'll have a lot more to say about what Shannon just
I'm going
said.
to K's, getting my size 15 and a quarter size after work today. Skip,
No, Skip does not.
What's your ring size?
I don't think
want
so.
one? I get you one.
You mean a Spurs ring?
No! No,
This year?
Spurs not getting
that's going to be your worst nightmare when the Spurs eke past Golden State into the finals and you say,
Can I get that on record?
God,
Can I get that
what
on
am I
record?
going to do now?
That's what you got on
record.
When
Said
Dwayne
that.
Dedmon,
No.
what if Dwayne Dedmon just terrorizes Bogut and Tristan in the paint?
Do you hold on? Double T. Do you realize Dedmon's going to terrorize Double T?
I do. He's too big for him.
He already told me. I already talked to Double T. He says, look, I've already gone on vacation with Chloe. There's no more vacations till July. He's straight.
I thought you were done with him because of Chloe. You moved on?
I want to be done with him, but I can't. I gotta hang in there with Double T.
No mercy. Thanks for listening, guys. Before we get to the next topic, here's Shannon with a message from ZipRecruiter.
Thanks, Joy. Hiring can be a real pain, and it can be difficult to know where to post your job and to find the best candidates. If you want to find the perfect hire, you need to post your job on all the top job sites, and now you can with ZipRecruiter.com. You can post your positions to over 200 job sites, including social media networks like Facebook and Twitter, all with a single click. It's that easy. Find candidates in any city or industry nationwide. Just post once and watch your qualified candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. No juggling emails or calls to your office. Nobody has time for that. Quickly screen candidates, rate them, and hire them fast and in person. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by the most powerful companies and thousands of small and medium-sized businesses. Right now, listeners of our podcast can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/undisputed. That's ZipRecruiter.com/undisputed.
Thanks. One more time, our listeners can try it for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/undisputed. Now back to the show.
No mercy.
Westbrook attacking and scoring. Westbrook extending, scoring. Westbrook passing down the lane. Oh, ferocious. He's got the triple-double. Oh, my. Westbrook exploding. That defied physics right there. Westbrook cocking the hammer, pulling the trigger. Westbrook saying goodnight.
Russell Westbrook had his 29th triple-double of the season last night with 41 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. We're joined now by Chris Broussard. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good to be here as always.
Great to have you. Skip, let me start with you. You did say he would average a triple-double and win the MVP.
I did.
After last night, where does Westbrook stand in the MVP race?
I think he's pulling away with MVP. And I must admit, I was half watching the Oscars last night, and I also had the Thunder game on the other screen. And when it came to the fourth quarter, all of a sudden, I told Ernestine, I'm sorry, because she was watching with me. I turned off the Oscars because this was a show that he put on.
You selfish.
Well, she went in the other room. Okay. But a career high 21 in the fourth quarter of what was a very close game, a very physical game in which he took incredible punishment. I'm sorry, I've never seen anything like this before. And I realize he dominates the ball, but you want to talk about relentless energy. You want to talk about taking more punishment than anyone since Allen Iverson was at his peak, where Iverson hit the floor, 10 or 12 times a game, and so does Russell now. And he jumps up and comes back for more. Just relentless attack mode. And in the late close situation, which they call clutch time, games last 5 minutes, regulation, overtime, games within 6 points, he just leads the league in scoring, and it's not even close. Now, you can say he's always got the ball in his hand, but I think he's proven to be the clutchest player in the NBA. And in PER, and I take that stat to the bank, it's like QBR in football, he's just running away with QBR. James Harden is 4th. LeBron James is 10th. And that's no knock on LeBron. I'm just showing Russell is just, his impact on the game is just extraordinary right now. They are only 3 games out of the 4 seed, and that's Utah. Yep. And Utah has to play at Oklahoma City twice in the next 2 weeks. One's coming up on Tuesday night. So they have a chance to catch up some ground pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And James Harden is averaging 1 more assist a game. But do you realize that Houston has now made 171 more three-point shots than Golden State? Most people wouldn't think that. 171 more shots?
An interesting stat, and I'm not going to, you can get right back to your point. The last 2 games, Houston took a total of 4 mid-range shots. That means everything was either a 3 or a dunk
and
or a layup.
He's encouraging 50
Yeah,
plus.
he said from here on out, they need to average 50 attempts a game.
Okay, so James is getting some easier assists occasionally because he can just dribble it up and flip it to the wing to Trevor Ariza, whoever it is, or Ryan Hampson, and they just go up and shoot
Lou
it.
Williams, Eric Gordon.
Now Lou Williams is making them like crazy.
Yeah.
And in the end, Russell Westbrook is averaging a triple-double in an era in which you've had the great stat on this, and I don't know how we can boil it down, but it's like about 20 possessions fewer a game than during Oscar's time, Oscar Robertson's time.
And about 10 minutes fewer.
10 minutes
He's playing
fewer.
10 minutes less per game than Oscar did.
Okay, so this is an extraordinary feat, and after last night, I sat back and said, wow, that's an MVP performance to me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a great game. He did have 9 turnovers, though.
He always
left
has
that out.
But he always has
He's number
6
2.
or 8 or 9.
He's number 2 in that category. But go ahead, go out. I don't want you to lose.
But he's got the ball in his hands more than anybody by far.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
41% usage rate, which is astronomical.
Yeah.
Right now, I have Harden ever so slightly ahead because they're still on pace to win 57 games. Oklahoma City, 47. I would like Russ to get a little bit closer to 50 wins. Not necessarily 50, but closer to 50. And it'd be great if they could move up beyond that 7th seed, because I'm starting to feel this way. If this guy averages a triple-double, I almost am going to have to give him the MVP. Because this has become such a hallowed statistic. I mean, every time somebody does it, It's the story of the night.
Well.
It might be your only triple-double of your career. It's the story of the night. So many, all the great versatile players in this league, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Larry Bird, Jason Kidd, none of them ever did this, ever averaged a triple-double. And some of them, LeBron, Jordan, they were on teams where essentially like this, where they needed to do everything, and they never did it.
Well, LeBron in his first Cleveland stint could have done this on a nightly basis.
Yeah, almost, yeah. I mean,
when they won the year they won 66.
66, 61, but he never did.
No.
For whatever reason, he wasn't able to do it. Michael Jordan wasn't able to do it. Averaged 32 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds one year, but that's not a triple-double. Nobody's been able to do it. And as you said, the possessions, the rebounds, all those are much lower nowadays. Oscar Robertson, I believe, averaged 45 minutes a game the year he did it. It's what he's doing is phenomenal. And again, I'd like to see him get closer to 50 wins. Unless the Rockets get something like 62, 63, 64 wins, I think I would probably have to give it to Westbrook.
I got the slight nod with you. I'm still with James Harden. Because when you just look at his numbers and you see 41, 11, and 11, you're like, oh, my goodness. Yeah. But then you go inside, you're like, okay, he was 14 of 29. That's less than 50%. He was 2 of 8 from 3. He had 9 turnovers. So he almost had a quadruple-double in a negative way. And if you look at the game he had Friday night, he was 4 of 18. Yeah, he had 17, 18, and 17, but he's 4 of 18 from the floor. And he's on pace. He's averaging a tad under 24 shots a game. That would be the most in the past 11 seasons. LeBron is 13th in shots. But we ain't talking about LeBron. We're going to get – and because if you look at it, James Harden is 28, 8, and 11. Westbrook is 31, 10, and 10. Harden has, he's down as far as the rebounds, but he's 7.5 games ahead of where Westbrook is. Yeah. That should mean something.
On pace to win 10 more.
Yeah. So that should mean something. And I told you at the beginning of the season, looking at all the schedules and the teams, I just didn't see how they could get better than 6th seed, but I had them at the 7th. And I still believe that's where they're going to end up at. And I think that would be the reason why James Harden will win it, because James Harden is going to be the 3rd seed.
If he got them up to, say, the 5th seed, would you vote for Westbrook?
Oh, I would. Yeah, if he got them up to the 5th seed, absolutely.
That's easy to do that.
No, he's not going to do it, though. He's not
so
gonna
They are the 3rd, I believe, the 3rd youngest team in the league to Oklahoma City.
Even with Taj Gibson?
It might have changed with that. This was right before the deadline, so it's probably changed a little bit.
So you just took apart Russell Westbrook's box score in a game in which he scored 21 points in the 4th quarter of a close game, not a rout or not just pouring it on garbage time.
Because Boogie was being Boogie and got kicked, fouled
it was the Pelicans.
And
let's face one game's not going to turn this. I mean, Harden's had these tremendous triple-doubles.
He's had 250
point.
Yeah, 50 He's had 2 50-point triple-doubles.
But you told me how great Anthony Davis is, that he's better than Boogie, so who cares that Boogie fouled out? And by the way, Russell would slammed him out of the game, literally slammed him to the bench.
AD was, but the thing is, AD, they're going to have to find a way to play together in the same quarter, because he had 24 in the first quarter, AD did, none in the second quarter. Boogie had none in the first quarter and 19 in the second quarter. You can't have that where you score here, I score there. They're going to have to find a way to play. It's going to take some time. I still believe they get to the 8th seed. Next year is when you'll see the progress with the Pelicans.
Here come the Thunder toward the 5th seed. They're going to get Utah twice at home. They'll beat them twice.
Gordon Hayward.
Twice.
I got Gordon. Gordon.
You got him in the
Utah is tough. Let's see him do that to Rudy Gobert.
Yeah,
Rudy Gobert.
The Eiffel Tower.
He probably could, but he get blocked. He might get blocked too.
But wait a second. Anthony Davis blocks more shots than Rudy does, doesn't he?
No.
You sure?
He's not the defender at the rim.
The Stifle Tower, that's what they call it. The Stifle Tower.
I know they do.
And
tough.
Here we go.
The greatest American-born white player in the NBA is Gordon Hayward.
Okay, here we go.
He is. Better than Kevin Love? That's a close.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it is.
I know that's your boy.
Yeah. I'm going.
Oh, wow.
Right now, I got to go. I got to go with.
That's a tough one.
Ooh.
Have some conviction, Shannon.
Come on now.
I think Hayward's a better player right now.
No mercy. McGee and Shaquille O'Neal's long-standing beef with each other reached a new level last week when the two exchanged expletive-filled tweets and verbal threats. The Golden State Warriors reached out to Turner Sports to express concern over the coverage of their center. Shaq was asked if Adam Silver told him to stop picking on JaVale, and he said, no, my mama just says, Shaq's mom called him, told him, stop this silliness, leave him alone. So that's the end of the beef. You won't be hearing about it from my side anymore. Mama has spoken. Shaq's mom, Lucille, followed up with this. It's not funny anymore seeing the things they're saying to each other. They need to squash this and move on. McGee's mom, Pamela, took it a step further, saying, he cyberbullied my son, totally inappropriate. Shaquille needs to lose his job or be suspended. The NBA needs to take a stand. And the mama's involved. Whew. Shannon, what is your reaction to all this?
Skip, I told you Friday, it had gone too far. I told you when JaVale McGee said, I put this on my mama.
He did.
Was serious.
In his tweet, he said that.
It was serious, and he wanted it to stop.
Yep.
I can understand where JaVale McGee's mom's coming from. I also understand where Shaq's mom's coming from. Let me take it like this. Shaq's job on that show is to critique and analyze players, how they got the buckets, why they didn't get the buckets, why this team is winning, why they didn't win. And this, I thought, crossed the line. You see, Skip, when we come out here and we have production meetings, we have an idea of what we want to talk about. You don't know what I'm going to say. They don't know what I'm going to say.
Nope.
So I could easily start going off the rails. Chris Healy, who's the producer of this show, can be in my ear. Shannon, where are you going with this? Shannon. But there's really nothing he can do until this segment's over. This was a 2-minute pre-packaged plan. TNT bears some culpability in this also.
Yep.
They're equally responsible because they could have easily said after the first time, okay, that's enough.
Yeah, you're saying this was a tape segment. Yeah.
Tape segment.
All right.
Shaq doesn't know how to go in the editing bay. Shaq doesn't know how to put this together and put this out there and show it for 2 minutes on TNT. TNT did that. So they bear some culpability in this also because if they did not stop Shaq. So they are encouraging this behavior. So Shaq is getting laughs, people are laughing, but JaVale McGee said, hold on. And I get it, but it's something Shaq had already shown. This is highlights from when he was in Denver with the Bullets, with the Sixers, with the Mavericks. This is not anything new. So if it was some new material, I get it, but that's not your job. Your job is an analyst show, not America's Funniest Videos. So what do you showing videos of this guy's bloopers have to do with you critiquing his play? See, Skip, when I was on the other show for CBS for 10 years, my job was to critique and analyze. And I always tried to do that, although I understood sometimes my job would call for me to be harsh and critical.
Sure.
I never wanted to be mean-spirited because I told you on Friday, Skip, I said, this man got a mom. This man got family members. And while you laughing, it's not funny to him anymore. He asked you to stop in a serious way. And instead of Shaq taking the high road and saying, you know what, man, you're right. Shaq took it a step further and says, oh, you think you a G now? Don't make me slap your bum, you know what.
Yep.
It didn't have to go there, Skip. It really didn't need to go there. And for the Golden State Warriors to have to reach out to TNT and to ask them for one of their own air talents to squash this lets you know that they thought it had gone too far. Now, I don't think Shaq should lose his job because TNT bears some culpability in this. If Shaq had done this on his own time, okay, I get it. But TNT, you bear some culpability in this. Let me take it to this point. In the article for the Undefeated, Pamela McGee, JaVale's mom, called in. JaVale also called Shaq, called him, and hopefully I'd never have to use this word again, especially on air, is that she used it. She said, JaVale said he was a coon. They asked the mom, and his mom said, yes, he was cooning. Let me give you some context about these words. When a black says to another black, you're cooning, you're a jigaboo. The new term that they use now is from the movie Django Unchained, is the Samuel L. Jackson character. They call you Stephen. When they say that, they're saying what you're doing is that you're looking down on one of your own race to get laughter and applause from the opposite race. So what was your plan? What was your thought process of doing this? What did you hope to accomplish, Shaquille? When he called Shaquille that on Twitter, Shaquille said, that's basically you calling me an N.
He did.
And it is. It's the same. You can't call people. And I hate when people of the same race, our race, because we're the only race, really one of the only races that do this. I don't know why. But I also told you Friday, I say, Skip, I'm starting to see, and I don't see this from any other race, that we'll go at one another. You see Richard Sherman calling out Patrick Peterson, Patrick Peterson and Darrelle Revis. We see Shaq going at JaVale McGee. I never heard Kevin McHale go at Kevin Love. I've never heard Kevin McHale go. You don't see Kevin McHale say, I'm better than Gordon Hayward. But that's what we do. And we, as African Americans, we need to stop this silliness. Two things, it's okay if he's great. It's okay. Just because he's great, that doesn't mean you're not great. You don't have to try to bring him down. We need to get out of that crab syndrome. See, the crab syndrome is, Skip, if a crab is trying to get out the bucket, one crab says, look, either you turn the bucket over and we all escape and get to the water, or if you're trying to get out, I'm going to pull you back down. And it seems that in our community, we see a lot of that, and it's unacceptable. I don't like the term, but I know what the term means, and I know the connotation behind the term. And Shaq has to, and I reached out to someone that was very close to Shaq, and I tried to explain to him, and he told me, well, Shannon, it's just jokes. I said, but the joke is only funny once. Now, you can use a joke once. Now, maybe if you go to a different audience, you can use it again. But it's the same prepackaged tape that had shown earlier in the year. So where's the new material? And how is that critiquing JaVale McGee's play? JaVale McGee has been in the league for 8 years. He's carved out a nice niche now with the Golden State Warriors. So what he did in the past, the bloopers, I don't get where you're trying to critique his play. He is what he is. He's never going to be a great center like you, Shaq. He's never going to be a great center like a David Robinson or Tim Duncan or any of the all-time great big men. But he's found a home, and he's very useful in what they do. And I was very, very disappointed. But I'm going to give Shaq mom kudos, because although I believe Shaq pays all the mom's bills, she says, I'm going to tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear. And baby, you need to stop this foolishness. It's silliness. It is beneath you. It's beneath us as a race of people that we continuously take shots at one another. Because at the end of the day, while you're taking a shot at him, they're laughing at you also.
I appreciate everything you just spoke. This has gotten very, very deep. And before I give my 2 cents, and it's worth about 2 cents, I'm going to disqualify myself before I plunge. I'm just a white guy. I can't begin to see or feel this the way you do or you do.
But you're different, Skip. You're a white guy, but you got a heart the size of Cleveland, and you're compassionate. And you understand.
I try to understand, but I'm not sure I do, because this one went way, way deep. This went about as deep as any issue on a sports show I've ever dealt with. And I want to say that from my perspective, I also appreciated everything Pamela McGee said about her son, because I think she made a lot of strong and, in my view, valid points.
Yes.
And I think she has credentials. I want to remind people who don't know, she played on 2 national championship teams at USC. Now, Cheryl Miller was the centerpiece of those teams,
Cynthia
but she
Cooper.
played, and Cynthia Cooper was on those teams.
And a twin.
Yeah, you got it. And yet, Pamela went on to be a player, a cog on a gold medal Olympic team, and she went on to play in the WNBA. So you got to give her that.
Yeah.
Those are credentials. And she's the first mother ever to have a son playing in the NBA and a daughter playing in the WNBA. That's pretty great. And she has served as her son's business manager. And there were times when he was first drafted with Washington that she was seen a little bit as a stage mom, you know, too much into the game from the second row, screaming too much at her son or at the referees against her son. And yet, in this case, I thought she said a lot of valid things that her son really can't get away with saying. And because her son had already stood up to Shaquille O'Neal on Twitter, I thought this didn't make her son look soft, like she was trying to fight his battles. Like, for the first time, he stood up. He went right back at Shaq in kind. You know, it was like mean-spirited versus mean-spirited. He got just as mean-spirited with Shaq. So I appreciated all that. And I even appreciated in a vacuum the thought that she was making that he's a commentator on TNT and commentators need to be held to a higher standard.
Yes.
And in a vacuum, if Shaquille O'Neal were just some fringe player trying to make it in broadcasting and he kept doing Shaq in a fool kind of segments, you'd say, gee, that's out of bounds. That's suspendable. At least he should be suspended for that. But again, you TNT complicit in this because these were tape pieces that they aired.
Right.
Okay, so I get that.
If he had put it on his own podcast and did it his own way.
Or if he just spoken it on live TV.
Correct.
Then it could be suspendable. Now, remember, she's up against a man who has always been seen as a fun-loving, gentle giant, right? And Shaq, he's a big comedian. And everybody loves Shaq. I love Shaq.
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
And I get it. And there was a period of 3 years when I thought he was the greatest offensive force in the history of this league. It wasn't pretty to watch. I get that. But then he and Kevin Durant started going at it on Friday after our show.
Yes.
And that got mean-spirited on both parts. Like, well, what are you doing? Where is this going? But in the end, because Shaq's mom got involved, and according to Shaq, I think TNT also,
of course
and
they did.
Silver also had some stake in this. But Shaq has now said publicly, it's over. So because it's over, I'm not going to push for Shaq to be suspended, but I'm applauding what Pamela McGee said about her son because I liked it. And I liked it, the whole idea of where she went into, he's bullying men of color, and she went all the way into, we now have someone in the White House saying it's okay to bully and disrespect people who don't look like us, talk like us, think like us. All of us should be embarrassed by this, says Pamela McGee.
Yes.
Okay, I love that point. But now this is the deepest point here. When her son went to that word that you spoke that I can't speak, I just can't even get it out of my mouth. But when he went to that word, and Shaq said, I considered it like being called by another black man the N-word.
Yes.
Okay, could that be the flashpoint of this whole thing? When, like, it's hard to keep it in context of when that all occurred.
Right.
But it was some time back that first occurred. Is it possible that it escalated to mean-spirited because of that word got used? Was that a flash?
Well, he used the meme, the minstrel, where he had the guy in blackface with the red lips, and the guys used to perform at the expense for the laughter of the opposite race. He used that. See, JaVale went to a point and says, okay, I've asked you to stop, and I've tried to go about it as nice a way as I possibly can, but you don't seem to understand. You remember I told you, Skip, sometimes you have to kill a gnat with a sledgehammer in order to make sure he gets the point. He had to get Shaq's attention. When he called him that, he had Shaq's undivided attention.
I'd say.
So now he's telling you, and you know, Skip, that word when you use, we don't like to use it, the animal with the ring around his eye and his tail. When someone calls you an Uncle Tom, when they say jigaboo, when they call you Stephen, boy. Now, when they call you that, they're telling you, this is what I think of you and your behavior. You out here clowning. You out here joshing. You trying to make me look bad, but they looking at you saying, how could you do that? Now, some people say, well, Shaq just having fun. He's having fun at someone else's expense. That's JaVale McGee. That's Pamela McGee's baby. That's her son.
You got
and
that
she's
right.
And any mama is going to defend her son to the staunchest. Shaq should have let this go long ago.
By the way, I read another story. I'm just going to throw this in to show the power of that maternal bond.
Yes.
That when she got pregnant, she was going to have an abortion, and she went to church and heard a message about the power and the value of life.
Right.
And she opted to go ahead and have the child and raise it herself. There was no father involved.
Right.
And you can tell that you want to talk about a bond? She felt like God spoke to her in church that Sunday, have this child and love this child and raise this child on your own. And she did. To her credit, she took the child to Europe while she was playing pro basketball. Man, that's rough, man.
Yes.
She paid some dues.
To be a single mom and to raise a child.
Yeah.
Not only are you trying to raise a child, you're trying to raise a boy into becoming a man. That's an awful lot to put on her plate while you're trying to make ends meet by being a professional basketball player. So you're going to have to lead that child. You're going to have to trust someone is going to watch over him like you would, because you know in order to provide for him, this is what you need to do. Shaq could have been the bigger person long time ago and just say, you know what? Instead of saying, I'll slap you. You right, man. I apologize. I shouldn't have taken it there because now he became a part of the story. Don't you become a part of the story. You critique, you analyze the play. JaVale, you need to get down on the block. JaVale, you need to be able to shoot the mid-range. Work on your mid-range game. You packaging a 2-minute blooper reel is not critiquing and analyzing the guy's play. You're trying to make fun of. That's not what TNT is about. That's not America's Funniest Videos. No. And even on that show, they show different clips. They show different people doing different things, different animals doing different things. So it wasn't funny to me. It was funny once. But then all of a sudden it became mean-spirited because I knew what you were trying to do. You're trying to poke and make fun of someone at their expense by using the same footage. That's not your job. Oof. I hope Shaq has learned a valuable lesson. I love Shaq. He's a great guy. I've been around him, fun, laugh, and talk. But I always felt that he stepped over the line with this because he wouldn't let it go. Skip.
So out of character, right?
I just don't get why us as African Americans have to continuously take shots at other African Americans. We already have a fight, Skip. We already got an uphill climb.
How do you explain this? I don't know.
I can't explain it.
I don't know.
And I'm not trying to explain it. But all I am trying to understand is that why, if we got the fight that's on our hand currently, that's been on our hands for the last 50 years, if we got to fight this fight, why should we be fighting amongst ourselves? So we're fighting two battles that we haven't won the first one yet. That's what's so disappointing. And Shaq is an icon. Shaq is international.
He is. Yeah.
He should have been way, way, way bigger than this.
And in the end, you have to give JaVale some credit. He's had a career rebirth in Golden State. I know he's found the right niche and the right coach and the right stars around him, but still.
I don't care if he bounced the ball off his head every game. He's been in the league for 8 years. He's made a career. Do you know how many guys would love to say I'm in the NBA and a ball is bounced off my head, or I've missed a dunk, or I've airballed a free throw? And that's what Kevin Durant was trying to say. Shaq, if we were to pre-package some of the air balls that you had at the free throw line.
He did, yeah.
You wouldn't find that would be amusing. Because when Shaq thought someone was fouling him, remember was that Jack Haley? Or who did he pushed down and the guy threw the ball at Shaq's head, Chris Dudley. He didn't think that was cute, did he?
No.
You see how it is? See, laughing is not nearly as fun when people are also laughing at you. Then all of a sudden, it's not key, and it's not funny anymore. And JaVale McGee said, stop. This should have been stopped, Skip. Shaq would have been big enough and smart enough to say, you know what, guys? This is beneath me. Yeah, I'm a comedian. Yeah, I love to have fun. But this is not my job description. And I'm glad it's over. I'm glad Shaq's
I hope it is, yeah.
I'm glad. I would like to see Shaq and JaVale get together.
Yeah.
And they say, you know what, bro? I was wrong. I apologize.
Nice.
I should have never taken it there. So I promise you, moving forward, I will critique and analyze your game, but it won't be anything to do about bloopers. And so I'm glad Pamela McGee stuck up for her son, because as I told you, that's somebody's family member. And that's what I always do, Skip. I got a mom, I got a sister, I got a brother. You think they want to have somebody clowning me? No. Shaq, JaVale, get together, talk this thing out, move on, because it should have never gotten here. We got here, but hopefully we can move past this.
Well, the other element besides the bullying and the mean-spiritedness of it is this could have, actual implications on professionally for JaVale McGee. Shaq is very respected. The show is very respected. And if you're pounding on what a terrible player he is, that influences people's minds. Coach Kerr and Durant talked about that as well. So there's other implications to it also.
But if you notice, Shaq got upset when he called him the C word. But that's freedom of speech. See, he was using his freedom of speech to poke fun at JaVale McGee. But when JaVale McGee used his freedom of speech to come back, now we had a problem. You see how that works?
Oh, that's how it works. No mercy. Cowboys haven't made a decision yet on the status of Tony Romo. Former Cowboys head coach and Fox NFL analyst Jimmy Johnson gave his opinion on Romo. Johnson said, without question, it was the right way to go with Dak. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Tony Romo because Tony Romo is a great quarterback. If he's healthy, he can make a lot of plays. Tony healthy can win a lot of games. Skip?
Yes?
How will Jimmy's comments influence Jerry's decision on
Shannon Sharpe. Of all the human beings on this planet, one human can speak words that have the most profound effect on Jerry Jones, and his name is Jimmy Johnson. And I believe that his continued endorsement of Tony Romo, and this goes back a ways because Jimmy has always been a big Romo proponent, that it will slowly but surely push Jerry over the top into my worst nightmare, which is keeping Tony Romo and reinstalling him as the starting quarterback next year for the Dallas Cowboys. And I want to quickly give you the background of this. Remember, it was Jerry Jones who dared to fire Tom Landry. The day he closed the deal on the Dallas Cowboys, he fired Tom Landry so that he could bring his quote-unquote good buddy from his University of Arkansas teams to coach the Dallas Cowboys from the University of Miami with 0 NFL coaching experience. It was as outrageous a move as you've ever seen until, of course, Jerry fired Jimmy after he had won 2 straight Super Bowls after the '93 season. My point is, Jerry always wanted to be Jimmy Johnson. He idolizes Jimmy, maybe to a fault. And he sold to the media in Dallas that they had been roommates at the University of Arkansas, when in fact, even though they were teammates on the same national championship team, the truth was they were only road roommates because their names fell in alphabetical order. Jones and Johnson, right? Or Johnson and Jones. So that annoyed Jimmy greatly. And as they began to win in Dallas, he began to cut Jerry Jones to the quick by ridiculing him in front of assistant coaches, in front office staffers, by insulting his football intelligence. Jerry is most proud of his football intelligence, and he believes that he has as much as Jimmy has. And that's why he uttered the famous quote as they began to win, "I could coach the you-know-what out of this team." So Jimmy ridiculed Jerry because, remember, Jerry didn't pay one due to become the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys. He just went straight to the oil fields, he went bust, and then he got rich real quick. And he bought the Cowboys, and he named himself the president and general manager, which infuriated Jimmy Johnson to no end. So clearly, after one insult after another, Jerry finally said, "I'm a man and I'm not going to take this." We've been talking about how man finally just says, "I just can't take that anymore." And even though there was no Twitter or Instagram, he was getting it in front of other assistant coaches to the point he said, "I'm not going to take this anymore." He fires him and hires a guy who had been out of coaching for 3 years and never coached a down in the NFL, and Barry Switzer. But after that, slowly but surely, I think they made up. They're not friends, but they are now friendly. And to this day, I know for a fact that Jerry will savor the words, will take to heart the words of Jimmy as an analyst quicker than any other analyst. And remember what Jimmy said on the Fox postgame show after the last regular season game in Philadelphia? He opened that door crack because Romo had his little sizzle reel.
I don't want to start a controversy,
Yeah,
but
remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that? And Romo had been just sensational, albeit for one series, boom, 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 down the field against what was left of the Philadelphia Eagles. But he did look great. And he looked like the Romo of old instead of an old Romo. And once he reopened that door, I believe that Jerry took it to heart, like, we should do this. We should go back to Romo right now. Silver platter opportunity for us. We could maximize our chances to win the Super Bowl this year if we went back to Tony Romo now. And now that they had this big celebration over the weekend in Dallas to celebrate the championship teams of the early 90s, especially the 92 team, the breakthrough team, I believe this will have an even more profound effect on Jerry to think and think and think about it, and will continue to push him over the edge into keeping Tony Romo and putting him back in the starting lineup.
So now all of a sudden, Jerry, who fired Jimmy, values Jimmy's opinion.
He always did. He idolized him. He wanted to be Jimmy, and he wanted Jimmy to love and respect him, and Jimmy would have none of the above.
That man worth $5 billion. Mm-hmm. And he want to be,
Okay, but what in the end means the most to him?
Oh, you want to win them Super Bowls?
No, but he wants to be viewed as a football genius or savant.
Yes.
Right.
Here's the thing. When you talk about Tony Romo, and if I'm not mistaken, Jimmy mentioned it 3 times. He prefaced everything with what, Joy?
Health.
If.
Sure.
If.
Well, you have to.
If. The Patriots, if Tom Brady, they don't say if. Green Bay, if. New York, if. How can I build my team on if? You can't. And everybody, oh, Tony Romo. We're not debating whether Tony Romo can win games because he's won games. And everybody said, oh, Tony Romo can win a lot of games. Have you heard anybody say Tony Romo can win the game?
Well, he's never won the game.
Okay, this.
I mean, he won a big one at Green Bay.
No, he didn't. Skip.
Yes,
I would
he
just
did. It was a catch.
Skip Bayless.
Was it not a catch?
No, it
you
wasn't.
know it was a catch. I can just see in your eyes, you know it was a catch. They would have won the game.
Skip.
That was a big throw, Tony Romo. You got to give Romo credit for that.
It was not a catch, and you don't get credit for an incompletion.
Oh.
So that's what it was. It was an incompletion. Skip, they need to stop with this. A man that has been in the league, has been a starter for 12 years, has been in the league for 14 years, Skip, and he's never been past the divisional round of the playoffs. What makes you think at 37, brittle, as fragile as he is, he's the guy that can get you over the hump? Listen, I understand that I don't spend thousands and thousands and thousands of hours now looking at tape. But I've been around the game long enough. I played the game long enough. I just don't see what everybody else sees in Tony Romo. Everybody throws around a great. Tony Romo is not a great quarterback. He's never been a great quarterback. We throw that word around too much. Aaron Rodgers is great. Tom Brady is great.
Greater than Aaron Rodgers. But go ahead.
I'm just trying to make a point about great. We're
it.
not trying. Skip. I've said 3 weeks ago that Tom Brady is the greatest player. If he's the greatest player, that means quarterback, running back, receiver. So can we just, so now.
That's over.
Okay.
So don't put them in the same sentence anymore. No, great and great in the same sentence. It's a little disrespectful to the second great, who's Tom Brady.
Skip Bayless, I don't drink, but you about to cause me to start drinking.
Yeah. I'm just keeping you honest. It's okay.
Drew Brees. Stop saying Tony Romo is great. Tony Romo is good, and at times he's been very good.
Okay, here's the point. I believe if Jimmy Johnson had been coaching this year's Dallas Cowboys, that once the playoffs hit, he would have gone back to Tony Romo. Because Jimmy is University of Miami. He's flash and dash.
I believe
he wants the spectacular. He wants the capability of having the nuclear firepower of hitting the big touchdown pass to Dez Bryant that he wouldn't think that Dak, certainly as a rookie in a first playoff start, was capable of making.
I tell Michael Irvin all the time, I say, I'm glad that Jerry fired Jimmy, because you'd have made our job a lot more difficult trying to get back-to-back championships in 97 and 98. Because there's a good chance the 5 titles that Coach Belichick and Tom Brady have, that would have been Troy Aikman and Jimmy Johnson. So I'm glad. Now, I don't like it, but he made our job a lot easier because what they had, that was a young team in their absolute apex prime. And Jerry blew it all up. So,
well, he did come back and win one. He got one more. You got to give him that. He should have had 3 more.
But that's what I'm talking about. They could have strung these things together. You're talking about 4, 5, 6. Skip, you look at that offensive line. Everybody talk about that the offensive line, the way they're constructed now, couldn't hold a candle to those guys in the 90s. With Larry Allen, Nate Newton, Tuanay, Stepnowski, and Big Easy. If Eric Williams had not gotten that car wreck, Skip, he was their best offensive lineman.
He was.
He was a man.
Every time he went up against your brothers and Reggie White, he controlled him. Reggie was quiet in those games.
And all those guys were grown men. Nate Newton, and people don't talk. Nate was the real deal. So that offensive line, and then they had Emmett. They're talking about Zeke. Emmett was running the ball, and he was getting 6, 7 yards of carry on first down. And then you had the playmaker. Then you had Alvin Harper, but Alvin left. But they had Novacek. But Skip, Joey, what am I missing? What am I missing with this Romo? What is
Jimmy would say his ceiling is higher than
not just Jimmy, everybody. For the last 2 years, we've seen the guy play 4 games. 4 games out of a possible 32.
But you saw 2014. He had the best QBR in pro football. Well, that's what you saw. And he did it for a whole year. And he stayed healthy for a whole year.
Why couldn't Tebow get a job? Because everybody saw 2011.
Yeah, but this guy's got the big arm. And he can make plays with his feet.
He can make plays for both teams.
Well, I agree with you.
That's his problem.
You're preaching to my choir. I was sold on Dak in the preseason. I want Dak. I want steady and unspectacular. I want low risk, high reward. This is high risk, high reward with Romo.
The last 3 times we've seen Tony Romo take a hit, What's happened, Skip?
They were just like routine hits to me, and you couldn't get up from them?
Yeah.
3 straight
I mean, one guy just like basically tapped him in the back of his head, and he missed 10 weeks for a back injury.
Okay, so Jerry would say to you right now, if we were off camera, he'd say, I can get Tony, I can fit him under our cap next year with Dak because he makes so little.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't I start Tony? And if he stays upright and regains his 2014 rhythm, we got a chance to go win the Super Bowl. And if he gets hurt, guess who I got waiting in the wings? I got a guy who won 11 straight games for me last year. That's what Jerry's thinking right now.
I was a criminal justice and history major at Savannah State. And the reason why I love history, because it's a collection of past events and facts. And this is the history. This is what it tells us. Tony Romo is injury prone. Tony Romo has never won the big game. So those are 2 pieces of history that I have in my favor. So what's the part of history that tells you Tony Romo can go get you to and win the big game? Okay. I got 2 pieces of history in my favor.
But the third piece of history is you're dealing with an irrational owner with a huge ego who thinks he wants to be a football man, who gave Tony Romo a big deal in 2013, and he wants to justify it by proving to the world as an exclamation point to his resume, Hall of Fame now resume, that he can win a Super Bowl with Tony Romo. What did he say at midseason? My one big regret would be if we didn't win a Super Bowl with Tony at quarterback.
Well, I'm going to talk to... Are you going to the Hall of Fame? Are you going to go see Jerry get inducted?
I have no plans. I'll watch it on TV.
I think I'm going to put a buzz. I'm like, Jerry, you need to let this infatuation with Tony Romo go.
Okay.
I'm going to tell him that.
I'll be there.
I'm going to say, Skip. I'm going to say, Skip. Well, I know you'll be there. I'm going to say, Skip Bate, look.
I know, but by then it's going to be too late, I believe.
Well, I'll ask, how about this? I ask him.
By then, but wait a minute. Aren't the Cowboys in the
They're in the game, yeah.
Okay, so the next day you might see Tony Romo start the next
Oh,
day.
man, stop, please. Stop, please.
Well, to your Tim Tebow point, we love Tim Tebow, but his arm is obviously better, Tony Romo's, than Tim Tebow's. And Tim Tebow is polarizing for a different reason than Tony Romo's. But what you're missing is, and Skip's always trying to tell you, it's Dallas. It's America's team. That's why we're talking about Tony Romo.
No, the Patriots are America's team.
No.
Patriots.
No. One of these days,
Tom Brady.
You're just going to accept it. No mercy. The Pelicans lost their 3rd game in a row last night since acquiring DeMarcus Cousins. Cousins fouled out in the 4th quarter and received a technical foul 32 seconds into the game. The Tech is Cousins' 18th of the season. He will be suspended 1 game unless the Tech is rescinded. We're joined by former NBA All-Star Kenyon Martin. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on Undisputed. Yeah. DeMarcus Cousins continues to get into it with the refs. Do you have any sympathy for him right now?
Sympathy? I wouldn't call it sympathy. It comes a point in time where you have to grow up and you have to mature. And I think he's at that crossroad. I thought from the press conference and everything, I thought he had lifted that burden of being in Sacramento. I thought he would go down to New Orleans and do the right things. But he has to understand what's going on now. Other guys are going to try to bait him, and you 30 seconds into the game and you fall for it, knowing you can't afford another technical. Yeah, it's time for Boogie to grow up.
Mm. So do you relate to him at all? Because I know you went through some of this, and then you grew up, but there was a time, because it looks like it's almost got to the point of he's at war with the refs, and they're at war with him, and they're going to show him 32 seconds into a game, we're going to draw a line, and you're not going to cross this line on this crew. And it's been happening each of his 3 nights in New Orleans, where can you relate to that? Have you gone through that?
Yeah, he's fighting a losing battle.
Well, there you go.
Because they're going to be a part of every game that you're playing from this point on. You know what I'm saying? So he's fighting a losing battle in that aspect. Yeah, I can relate. Somebody who played with just as much or more emotion than he does. Got kicked out a few games throughout my career, technicals, fighting, this, that, and the third. But it comes a point to where you hurting your team because your team needs you out there. And when they can't depend on if you're going to be there for the next game, it's rough. But I can definitely relate, man, because I came to the edge a few times to where I would have one technical one game where I want to say something or I want to do something and I can't. It was a situation where me and Nene got into it when I was in New Jersey and he was with Denver. And I had been warned if I have another fight, then it's going to be bad. So I drew back and was like, you're lucky. So you learn. The older you get, you learn, and you got to understand what is going on. Like, you can't continue to do the same things. You can still play the game, be you, but only take it to that line. He can't cross the line,
So
which he's done.
what I saw last night, 32 seconds into the game, was a reputation tech
Definitely.
against DeMarcus
Definitely.
because Steven Adams, I don't want to go to goon, but he has some goon tactics. So as DeMarcus is trying to walk away, he reaches in and tries to knock the ball out of his hands, and it's just like one of those things.
He's
He's
baiting
him.
He's
It's
baiting
just
and
Loaded him
inciting.
into it.
Yeah, and DeMarcus, you should know now.
Right.
More and more players are going to do that. If they see they can get to you 30 seconds into the game, they are going to continue to do that to you. So you have to know, like, he should know when that happens, turn to Adams, which not a goon.
Yeah.
He's a nuisance.
He's in whatever.
Whatever
Yeah,
you want to
I
classify.
got
Not
it.
a goon.
Yep.
No. But look at him and be like, all right, chill, man. It's 30 seconds to the game. Right. All right, come on, man. Like,
Go hang 40 on him.
yeah, and hold that.
Yeah. It's hard to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's averaged at least 12 technical fouls since he's come into the league. Let's put this in perspective. He averages getting a technical foul every 4.5 games. Dennis Rodman was at 5.2. So think about that.
Yeah.
Everybody knows how we saw Dennis Rodman was sitting on the sideline with his shoes off. Like, I ain't going back in. I'm done with everybody. And this is what Boogie Cousins is doing. And I thought the same thing, Kenya. I thought that, okay, getting out of Sacramento, that was a bad environment. Yeah, he created a lot of toxicity in that locker room. And a lot of that went on with Sacramento was because of Boogie, because all those coaches, the one common denominator between all that was him. So I'm like, you know what? He's going with AD. They're going to win. They're going to surround him with better players. And he goes and he brings that same behavior. Mm-hmm. At some point in time, Boogie, you're going to have to grow up. You're 26 years old. You've been in the NBA since you were 19. This is all on you. This is not about the Pelicans. This is not about Sacramento. This is about you and your behavior. Your teammates need to be able to count on you. They need to be able to trust that you're going to be able to be with them every single night, not run the risk of every other game that you're going to miss because every other tech, you got to sit down.
Yep.
Yeah, but I don't mean to cut you off, but he's a hell of a basketball player.
He is.
Hell of a basketball player. But he's going to always have that but. DeMarcus Cousins is a hell of a basketball player. But. Boogie's this but. And that's unfortunate.
Yes.
It's very, very unfortunate for him that he has to go through that, but he has to learn, man.
God, he's a special talent. There are very few guys that can go get you 28-11 a night. 28-11-5. He's 28-11-5, 1.6 blocks a game. That's what he gives you a night. He scored 31 points in slightly over 21 minutes last night. He's a special talent. But why? This is what bothers me about when you see great players, and I've been around some football players like, bruh, do you realize how special you could be if you just cut out the BS? Do you realize just how God-gifted you are?
Okay.
And clearly he works at it, Skip. You just don't roll out of bed.
Okay, so he was looking for a fresh start in New Orleans. They face Houston first game in New Orleans. Speaking of Nene, the refs let Nene just beat on him the whole night and called nothing. And he got more and more frustrated until finally they got a double tech wrestling with each other.
Yeah.
And then he goes to Dallas on Saturday night. And what happens late in the first quarter, Danny Crawford goes boom, boom, and calls 2 quick personals on him. And I thought they were borderline at worst or best. And, of course, DeMarcus is throwing up his hands each time like, what are you doing to me? Why are you picking on me? So he has to go sit. And he comes back in the second quarter, and a minute into his return, boom, Danny Crawford hits him again. And Danny Crawford's just saying, nope, I'm not going to let you do this to me. You're not going to show me up. I'm going to get you back. And he put him back in his place, so to speak, and DeMarcus was lost the rest of the game. He had 5 points in the second half, and they blew a lead and lost to the Dallas Mavericks by 13. So my point is, I realize he brought this on himself, but it outrages me sometimes when I see this kind of injustice. They are giving him no breaks, but he's going to have to live with no breaks until he can play his way through this. So I guess if you were advising him right now, you just have to tell him, hey, you're just going to have to swallow every one of them, right? Yeah. And just turn away, right?
It started years ago, Skip, to where the point to where in Sacramento they needed someone there in place, a veteran, a coach, a liaison, somebody to be there for him.
No.
And put him in his place at times when need be.
I got it.
Let him grow and be a man, because he's a man first and foremost. Let him grow, learn from his bumps and bruises, but have somebody there to reel him in and be like, hey, enough is enough.
Yeah.
Like, all right, today you did this, that, and the third. tomorrow I can't be this, which he didn't get. So therefore,
It's hard now.
he ran rampant with it. He ran rampant with it.
You got to get to him when they're early, Skip. It's just
Okay,
like
well,
when you,
then, are you talking about a lost cause here?
No, I still believe, but at some point, at the end of the day, even that being said, Kmart, the guy has to take it upon himself and say, you know what? I'm just messing up.
Well, hopefully.
I got to look within. Because, granted, you need to get to that guy early. Skip, the guy's averaging 28 and 11. It's hard. He's like, okay, yeah, I'm getting technical fouls, but look at them numbers I'm putting up on you.
Well, maybe the fact that he just blew $30 million by Sacramento trading him.
And if you go to another team, it's going to be farther.
You know what I'm saying? So maybe this would be something.
Sacramento obviously failed him, but people change when they want to. Just give it a little time. It's not been in New Orleans that long.
Dude been in the league 7 years.
But he's in a new environment now. He has to.
And he's doing the same thing.
They might have someone there that's working with him. It just takes a little time.
We'll see.
I'm glad you was optimistic.
No mercy. This is the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast, where we're delivering you an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the biggest topics of the day's show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, like us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1, follow on Twitter at Undisputed, and catch us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, Monday through Friday on FS1. You can find us on channel 219 on DirecTV, 150 on Dish. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. Undisputed is back tomorrow for more debates with Hall of Famer Chris Carter, Greg Jennings, and Rob Parker. We'll talk to you then.
Fox Sports, one of one.